Modern sealants crack, peel, blister, and beg for reapplication. Meanwhile, a medieval wood treatment quietly laughs from the shadows of history, still holding together ships, roofs, tools, and shelters centuries later. No lab coats, no polymers, just raw survival intelligence forged long before power tools or pressure-treated lumber. And here's the kicker. Even during World War II, variations of this ancient method quietly outperformed many so-called modern solutions when resources were scarce and failure meant death. This is history's survival code, and today we're unlocking a technique so brutally effective that time itself couldn't kill it. The treatment is pine tar. Real pine tar. Slow-cooked, oxygen-starved, black, sticky, smoky, and unapologetically primitive. Medieval builders didn't use it because it smelled nice. They used it because it worked. Pine tar doesn't just coat wood, it invades it. It seeps deep into the fibers, displacing moisture, killing fungi, repelling insects, and flexing with the grain instead of cracking like modern surface sealants. This wasn't guesswork. Medieval Europe depended on wood the way modern civilization depends on steel and concrete. Homes, ships, bridges, tools, carts, weapons, barrels, roofs, wells. If wood failed, people starved, drowned, or froze. So the method had to work. And it did. How medieval pine tar was made really matters. This wasn't just paint slapped on from a can. No, sir. Resin-rich pine roots and logs were carefully stacked into earthen pits or clay kilns. Then they were, slowly burned with almost no oxygen. Not ash, not charcoal, tar. Thick, hydrophobic, and chemically hostile to decay. What dripped out was collected like, liquid armor. When applied hot, pine tar penetrated deep. That heat, it really mattered. Warm tar flows into the cellular structure of wood, bonding at a level modern acrylics just never reach. Once cooled, it hardened into a flexible, water-resistant shield that didn't suffocate the wood. It let it breathe while still keeping rot out. That balance, honestly, is everything. Modern sealants, they trap moisture. Medieval tar expelled it. This is why medieval ships survived for decades in brutal saltwater. Hull planks treated with pine tar resisted rot even when constantly wet. The Vikings, they didn't dominate the seas by accident. Their ships were, you could say, biological nightmares for bacteria. And that same logic carried into later centuries, right into the industrial age. Fast forward to World War II. Supply lines shattered. Synthetic materials were rationed or, just unavailable. Armies and resistance groups fell back on what worked. Wooden structures, crates, tools, temporary shelters, and bridges still needed protection. Pine tar, creosote, and tar oil blends based on ancient knowledge were used because they were reliable, repairable, and didn't depend on factories that could be bombed. That's the survival edge. Pine tar doesn't need precision. It doesn't expire in a warehouse. It doesn't demand perfect conditions. You can reheat it, reapply it, revive it. Medieval structures weren't maintained once and forgotten. They were refreshed, layer by layer, year after year. That's why some wooden churches, barns, and beams are still standing after 500 years. Modern sealants promise miracles and deliver maintenance schedules. Pine tar promises nothing and quietly refuses to fail. Another advantage modern chemistry can't touch is self-healing behavior. When tar-treated wood warms under the sun, the tar softens slightly. Microcracks close. Water pathways seal themselves. Modern coatings do the opposite. Sun exposure makes them brittle. Cracks widen. Moisture sneaks in. Rot begins where you can't see it. Insects hate pine tar. Termites, beetles, larvae. The phenols and resins are toxic to them. Medieval builders didn't need pest control contracts. The treatment was the deterrent. Fungal spores couldn't establish colonies. Mold couldn't breathe. This wasn't surface protection, it was biological warfare. And here's where survival thinking kicks in. Pine tar isn't just about longevity, it's about independence. You don't need industrial supply chains. You don't need replacement cartridges or proprietary formulas. You need pine, fire, time, knowledge. That's it. The same equation medieval societies used. The same equation resistance groups leaned on during World War II when improvisation meant survival. This treatment scales down beautifully. Tool handles, fence posts, roof shingles, door frames, storage crates. Even leather and rope were treated with diluted tar oils to increase lifespan. Nothing was wasted. Everything was protected. Modern builders abandoned pine tar not because it failed, but because it was slow. Industry hates slow. Medieval builders respected it. Survival favors it. And no, this isn't nostalgia. It's performance. Laboratory tests on tar-treated wood consistently show superior resistance to water absorption and fungal decay compared to many modern surface coatings. The difference is penetration. You protect wood from the inside out, not the outside in. For preppers, historians, and, well, anyone serious about real-world durability, this is a lesson carved into time. Technology doesn't always move forward. Sometimes it forgets what worked. Medieval pine tar wasn't elegant, it was effective. And honestly, effectiveness is the only metric survival respects. That's the code. If this kind of forgotten knowledge matters to you, if you believe history still has teeth, make sure you subscribe to History's Survival Code. Share this with someone who still trusts shiny labels more than proven wisdom. And remember, the future survives on lessons the past already paid for.